We've all heard the pejorative nicknames President Trump bestows on his perceived enemies, but the question for the press is how often and when to repeat them. News organizations are divided over the dilemma, to say the least. Donald Trump's public pronouncements are littered with belittling nicknames, but it took on new significance during the 2016 presidential campaign.
Lion Ted Cruz, Little Marco.
One by one, he picked off his opponents, including one-time imagined frontrunner Jeb Bush by calling him low energy.
And now I can focus on crooked Hillary.
And his name-calling hasn't been confined to campaigns.
Nancy Pelosi, I call her Nervous Nancy.
With the next election almost a year and a half away, Trump has already labeled most of the Democrats.
Sleepy Joe and Crazy Bernie. She said she's Native American. And I said, Pocahontas. It's Pocahontas.
The Washington Post's Margaret Sullivan says we need to learn to stop amplifying these poisonous nicknames. And the Post's Karen Tumulty says she's swearing off the nicknames because the highest office in the land has become all bully and no pulpit. Meanwhile, though, the New York Times has a different take, keeping a careful running tally of nicknames, counting the times he's called Biden Sleepy Joe or Crazy Bernie Sanders, and noting new targets like this one.
Calling Democratic candidate Mayor Pete Buttigieg Alfred E. Newman, who is the cartoon mascot of Mad Magazine.
I'll be honest, I had to Google that. I guess it's a generational thing. I didn't get the reference. It's kind of funny, I guess, but he's also the president of the United States, and I'm surprised he's not spending more time trying to salvage this China deal.
Really, I'm sure Trump has a few choice words for them, too. Didn't know who Alfred E. Newman was? Anyway, these are things that the president says. He says them on a constant basis, even if you're not repeating them. If you're quoting him, if you're putting a comment on the air, that's what he says. That's the way he talks. I don't know how you can edit this any more sharply.
Well, first of all, I can't even believe we're having this conversation. It's sad that it has come to this. I do think that when the president first started calling people these names, I certainly was surprised, and I think others were surprised when it kept going. And that deserved the coverage that it got. I think you have to do that. When we realize that this is an ongoing pattern, I do agree with the point that you have to stop amplifying it. It's no longer news. It's not unique. It's not something that's stunning for the first time happening. And I think you need to back away from it. There may be circumstances where you have to do it because it's so egregious, the name that he raises, and then you move away from that. But I don't think that we should be amplifying every single time that he makes up a new name at a rally somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point Margaret Sullivan was making in her Washington Post column, and I agree with her, is not that we ignore the fact that he's hitting people with insulting and demeaning nicknames. It's that people in the media get onto Twitter and it's like, oh my God, Trump just called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas again, or it's in the headline and they make it the subject of a story. I think it's a matter of proportionality and context, and that's what we're missing.
I absolutely agree. This infuriates me. Don't repeat it. It's that simple. Let him say it. I'm not saying when he's on the screen and he says whatever, that's a part of what he says. So we do that. As same conversation we've had on this set about do you cover his tweets. I think they're disgusting, but yes, that's a part of his messaging. You do that. But you do not have to repeat it. Just because he called somebody that, you don't have to. Well, I got a nickname for him. Why don't you just check out with Melania and be best bully? I mean, this is ridiculous that we are repeating this stuff as if, we are the vehicle for his communication. And by the way, he's got plenty of names for us. So what's our problem? Self-hate, I guess.
You use the key word there, messaging. That's what this is. This is not random or accidental. And what I would like to see the media do, I agree, if he says it, he says it, but you don't need to dwell on it. What I would like to see the media do more of is some sharp-edged analysis of what not just Trump, but other politicians are doing with their messaging. One of the brightest pieces I read, I can't remember who wrote it, was some marketing expert during the 2016 race about how much more clever the Trump campaign was with its use of slogans. Lock her up, build the wall, short, punchy, single-syllable slogans that people were spouting back to him spontaneously at rallies. What was Hillary Clinton's slogan?
It's a very good, valid
And it
point.
works.
Yeah,
It works.
Well, all these nicknames work.
They all work,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't think that's the discussion here. Yes, of course, if you're on the other end and you're trying to get attention away from someone or towards someone,
Right.
It's the lowest way to communicate your message.
Well, let's just
And it
explain
works.
to viewers and readers what it is that's going on, and they can make up their own minds.
We're not
You
his
know,
messengers. You know.
I mean, rhetoric that's stupid and reductionist does work on a certain level.
Right.
I mean, when you say that, well, what was Hillary Clinton's message? I mean, I think that it's probably to her credit that she didn't have anything quite that punchy, because you're working on a different plane here.
To her credit, I mean, really?
All I'm saying
Look
is,
who's
John,
president.
we don't have to repeat it. We don't have to repeat it. If he wants to say it, let him say it. There's no reason for us to have 15 chyrons underneath fonts repeating what he said, or ask the next 5 people that sit on the set, what do you think?
do you
He
think?
said
Yeah,
so-and-so.
well,
Come
that's-
on.
Exactly.
Come on.